cheap versus expensive screws. What's better? Are you better to spend the money on the expensive ones or save the money and buy the cheap ones? Should we have a look? Right, let's start with a little caveat then, right? As always, this is my opinion. I might be wrong. You might think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. Everybody's entitled to opinion, right? The buttons, everybody has one. So this is my experience and I come from my sort of point of view as a tradesman, contractor, that sort of thing. Is it worth buying the cheapo screws or should you just cheap out and buy the inexpensive ones? Personally, right? Personally, I go sort of mid-range, right? And I'll explain why. I don't have a problem with cheap screws and I think if you're starting out, go for it, right? If you just want to buy the multi-packs of like the Quicksilvers, or the cheapo fast and fixings, turbos, the turbo golds, all of those sorts of ones. If you just need some screws to get by, go for it. You're building a chicken coop, right? You're putting some fencing, well not fencing, making some gates, right? Whatever you need, go cheap if you're just starting out in the hobby. If you're a bit of a tradie, right, or you're trying to make something half decent, I'd probably go for the mid-range. And if I'm making something extremely nice, or I don't have the time for anything to go wrong, I go expensive screws, something like a Reisser, right, or a fairly ones. Now, what is the reasoning behind that? So, my reasoning behind that is time is money, okay? In my experience, cheap screws have a tendency to snap. Now, say for example, you're just knocking together a chicken coop, right? Doesn't necessarily matter if it's screw snaps. You can just knock it in, snap it off, doesn't matter. You chuck a load of framing together, right, for, I don't know, some gates or something. You just need something that's going to drive in once, you're never going to take it back out again, you need it to work, go cheap, right? Because it's going to be fine, yeah? However, when I'm building something, right, say for example, I'm building something and I think there's a fair chance I'm going to have to take that screw back out because I'm putting something together, dry fitting it, or I've taken the time to, you know, pre-drill some birch ply, countersink everything, make it look pretty. I'm using some walnut, I'm using some nice softwood. I've spent some money, right? And the client spent some money with me. The last thing I need is to put that fixing in, and as it drives in, it snaps. Right, and not only does it snaps with the head below the surface, so I can't freaking do anything about it. That is, it sounds stupid, but it's a proper stress, okay? Because the thing is, then you have to make the decision, well, do I put another fixing in next to it? Because it has to be fixed at that point, because otherwise I wouldn't have put one in the first place. If I do that, then we're gonna have a hole, we're gonna have a countersink, there's another job I've got to fill. Do I need to drill it out? Then I'm gonna cap it and before you know it, you've lost 20 minutes, half an hour on a job that you were just popping a couple screws in and being done with it. That happens 3 or 4 times in a big job. And so when you've lost all that time, does it really matter that you maybe saved like 6, 7 quid on some screws? Does it really matter that this box of them cost you 8 quid and these were 4 quid? Does it matter that these are £12 and these are 6 quid? For me, no it doesn't, right? Because I'm just gonna add that cost onto the client's invoice anyway. Or when I price a job and I quote for a job, I'm probably gonna go in there at mid-range. So if I sit there and I'm a little bit concerned about it, I'll go for the expensive ones, and I'll swallow up that £2 loss or whatever it is. I really have had jobs where I've done something and I've used a cheap screw and it's snapped off and it's just a pain in the butt. Obviously, this isn't a very nice workbench, but it works for me, it's functional, and I will drive screws in and out all the time. I'll use it for clamping on, I'll put something on here and knock wedges in, all that sort of stuff. So I want to be able to take those screws out. If they snap, it's such a pain in the butt. It can be a bit of a mission sometimes to take them out, right? So I'm not telling you to not go cheap, right? Anybody who's watched me for any amount of time will look around and they'll see inexpensive tools. They'll see some expensive ones, right? And then they'll see a lot of inexpensive tools. I always make the joke that I have super short arms and very deep pockets, right? Because I do. And I try and save money where I can save it. But I also, the more I work, the more I realise I don't want any hassle, right? And so I will spend the money where I think it needs to be spent and save it where I think it can be saved. Hence why a lot of tradesmen won't want you to buy materials and fixings and fittings for them. They will have their own that they use because they know that they work, they know that they're easy to work with, they know how to take them apart and put them back together, they know how to service something, they know that if they use plywood from Travis Perkins, for example, it's kept inside so it's going to be flat. You're going to buy plywood from your local builders merchants, they might have kept it outside and it might be wet, right? Or it might be damp. And because it's damp, when you take that off that pile, it's going to be curved, right? And whereas the stuff from Travis, and it might not be, right, but the stuff from my local Travis is kept inside, so every time I pull a sheet off, it's super flat, and there's never any issues with it. So when I buy my ply, I'll go to Travis if I can go to Travis. If I'm just throwing up some hoarding, I'll go buy it from local builders merchants, because it doesn't matter, right? But if I'm doing something decent, like say for example, I'm using some ply to make some pods or something, then I'm gonna go get the decent stuff, well, semi-decent. It's not birch ply, is it, right? But I'm going to spend the money where I need to spend the money. I'm going to save the money where I need to save the money. And for me, as a tradie, as a contractor, I go mid-range for my screws because it's about making savings where I can save them and then making time savings where I can do that as well, because time is money and we all need to make money. All right, so that's my quick take on it. I'd love to know what you think below. Please let me know, because I really am interested in what you guys have to say. There's a wide variety of people who watch my channel. Some of you have never done any sort of woodworking at all. Some of you are tradies. Some of you are like cabinet makers for 30 years. So genuinely interested in what you have to say, because every day is a school day. I don't know everything, and I just say what I say from my point of view and my experience. All right, if you're still here, you're awesome. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.